Hello and welcome to Skyline, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Driti Atri, and tonight we begin with a story that every Indian living in America or dreaming of moving there should hear very carefully. Imagine losing your H-1B visa, not because of any sort of fraud, not because of a serious crime, not because of security issue, but because of an unpaid traffic fine. Sounds unbelievable? Well, that's exactly the kind of warning coming out of the United States. After that, we'll explain about new immigration proposal that could completely change the future of H-1B visas, green cards, and international students. Why are American universities suddenly losing Indian students? Why are more Indian families choosing Germany, Australia, and Canada over the US? In fact, we'll also take you to Canada, where India has reacted strongly against extremist action at a Hindu temple. And then we will travel to Australia, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a rock star welcome over there, even as anti-India protesters gathered outside. And most importantly, why are skilled plumbers and electricians earning more than engineers in Australia? Well, we'll explain it all. And these are not just headlines. These are the stories that affect careers, families, dreams, and the future of Indians living across the world. So let's start with it. First of all, let's begin with a story that has shocked thousands of Indians living in the United States. Imagine working for maybe years to build your career. In fact, clearing all the interviews, getting selected by an American company, winning the H-1B lottery, backing your life, moving to the US, building your future. Now imagine putting all of that at risk because of an unpaid traffic fine. Sounds unbelievable, right? But according to reports, this is exactly what happened to an H-1B visa holder in America. The individual was fined $600 after a traffic violation and attended the first court hearing. The judge imposed the fine and gave him time to pay it. However, after moving to a new apartment, he reportedly never received the reminder notice. The payment deadline passed and the fine that remained unpaid. Eventually, the information received the Department of Homeland Security, and soon after, his H-1B visa, it was revoked. Now, let's pause for a moment here. Think about how quickly life can really change. One missed letter, one forgotten payment, one administrative mistake, and suddenly your immigration status, it could be in trouble. Now, whether every individual case has additional legal factors or not, but this particular incident, it has become a major warning for foreign workers living in the US, because America's immigration system that is becoming stricter. Authorities are paying closer attention to compliance with laws and court orders. In fact, issues that many people consider minor can sometimes create much bigger immigration complications if they are left unresolved. Well, for Indians, this story carries even greater importance. Every year, Indian professionals receive the largest share of H-1B visas. Thousands of engineers, software developers, data scientists, doctors, researchers, and IT professionals depend on these visas to build their careers in America. And that is why immigration lawyers repeatedly advise foreign workers to keep track of every legal notice, every court document, every government letter, and every official deadline. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest immigration problem, it does not begin with major crimes. They begin with small mistakes that people assume are not really important. Today's America is definitely sending one clear message. If you are living on a visa, you cannot afford to ignore paperwork, because one small oversight can sometimes create very big consequences. But yes, if you think this story is worrying, the next one could affect millions of Indians planning to work or maybe settle in America. The Trump administration is preparing a new set of immigration rules that may completely reshape the H-1B visa program. Well, for decades, the United States has been world's biggest destination for skilled professions. Indians, they have been at the center of the success story. Walk into any major American tech company and chances are that you will find thousands of Indian professionals working there. From Silicon Valley to Seattle to New York, Indian talent has helped build some of the world's biggest companies. And now that journey could become much more difficult. Well, the Trump administration is preparing a fresh set of immigration proposals that could significantly tighten the rule for H-1B visas, employment-based green cards, and international students. Although these proposals have not yet become law, but they offer the clearest indication of where the US immigration policy may be headed in next coming months. Now, let's understand what could change here. Ladies and gentlemen, one proposal would tighten rule for employers hiring H-1B workers. Companies placing H-1B employees at third-party client location could face stricter requirements. Authorities also plan to increase the scrutiny of employers who have previously violated program rules. And at the very same time, additional fees could be expanded to cover H-1B extension application, increasing costs for companies that rely heavily on foreign workers. And that's not all. Another proposal focuses on salaries. That's right. The US Labor Department plans to revise prevailing wage levels for H-1B and employment-based green card cases. And if that is implemented, employer may have to offer significantly higher minimum salaries before sponsoring foreign professionals. Now, while that could benefit some workers through higher pay, it could also make companies more cautious about hiring foreign talent because sponsorship would become more expensive. Now ask yourself, which community is likely to pay the biggest price here? Answer is simple: Indians. Because Indians make up one of the largest groups of H-1B visa holders, employment-based green card applicants, and international students in the US. Well, the whole proposal, it could also affect students. Nearly 3.6 lakh Indian students studied in the US during 2024-25 academic year, making India the largest source of international students in America. So, any major change to visa rules, it could directly influence their future plans. Also, it's very, very important to remember that these are still proposals. Well, nothing has changed in the US immigration yet. Well, these rules must go through formal regulatory process before they can take effect. But the direction is becoming increasingly clear. America is moving towards stricter immigration oversight. Well, for Indians planning to study, work, or maybe settle in the US, the coming months could become extremely important. But yes, here's the biggest surprise for you all. Even before these new proposals become law, American universities are already beginning to feel the impact. Indian students are quietly looking elsewhere, and the numbers, they are rising serious concern among the US education system. For decades, studying in the US was considered one of the biggest dreams for Indian families. Parents worked for years to save money. Students prepared for competitive exams. Families took the education loans. Everything was planned with one goal: an American degree. Because for many people, the US university, it was not just about education. It was a pathway to a better career, better salary, and perhaps a better future. But today, that dream is beginning to change. According to the latest survey by the Institution of International Education, more than half of American colleges are reporting a decline in international student application. And among all the countries, the sharpest decline is coming from India. Universities say that fewer Indian students are now applying, fewer are receiving visas, and many are now choosing other countries instead. Now, wait, let's understand why this is happening. The biggest reason appears to be visa uncertainty. Many universities say that visa delays, stricter approval processes, and travel restrictions have made students very nervous about choosing America. In fact, more than 60% of institutions reported a decline in applications from India. Study visa approval for Indian students also fell sharply, with F1 visa insurances dropping by nearly 62% as compared to previous year. As a result, the number of Indian students arriving in the US declined significantly. Now imagine being an Indian student. You receive admission from your dream university. You pay the fee. In fact, you arrange your finances, book your accommodation, but you still don't know whether you will receive your visa on time. Well, that uncertainty alone, it is making many students rethink their plans. And wait, here's another major concern: the OPT, the Optional Practical Training Program, which allows international students to work in the US after graduation. It is currently under review by the Trump administration. More than 30% of Indian students in America participate in OPT. So if future changes reduce these opportunities, then many families may no longer see an American education as financially worthwhile. So the question is, where are Indian students going instead? Well, they are going to countries like Germany, Australia, Canada, and Singapore. These nations are becoming increasingly popular. Universities say that students are choosing these destinations because of fastest visa processing, clearer immigration rules, and better post-study work opportunity. But this shift, it's not only affecting students, it is also affecting America. That's right, international students contribute about $43 billion every single year to the US economy. Universities warn that if fewer international students arrive, the country could lose billions in revenue and thousands of jobs. Some universities have already reported major financial losses, though, because of falling international student enrollment. So today, the question is no longer, can I get admission in the US university? The bigger question is, will America still offer the same opportunity after I graduate? Well, that is the calculation thousands of Indian families are now making. And for many, the answer is changing. And yes, while Indian students are rethinking their American dream, another incident involving the Indian community, it has triggered strong reaction across Canada. This time, the issue is not about education, but about the safety of places of worship. For years, Canada has been home to one of the largest Indian diaspora in the world. Millions of Indians have built successful lives there. They have opened businesses, started families, contributed to the economy, and strengthened the relationship between India and Canada. But over the past few years, that relationship has faced repeated challenges. Now, another disturbing incident has added to those concerns. India has strongly condemned the acts of violence carried out by extremists and separatists at the Hindu Sabha temple in Brampton, Ontario. The Ministry of External Affairs expressed deep concern over the safety and security of Indian nationals in Canada and urged the Canadian government to ensure that all places of worship are protected. Well, India has also called for those responsible for violence to be prosecuted. Now think why this matters here. A temple is not just a building. For many families, it is a place of faith, a place of peace, a place where communities come together. So when violence reaches a place of worship, people naturally begin to worry about their own safety. And that is exactly why this incident has received so much attention in both India and Canada. Now, for thousands of Indians living in Canada, the hope is simple, that they should be able to practice their faith very peacefully, without any fear, without any intimidation, and without any violence. The whole incident has once again highlighted the importance of protecting religious places and ensuring that every community feels safe regardless of its background. Now, as both the governments continue diplomatic engagement, many members of Indian diaspora will be watching closely to see what action follows. Now, from Canada, let's now travel to Australia, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a grand welcome from thousands of supporters, even as anti-India protesters gathered outside the venue. Can you imagine entering a stadium filled with more than 30,000 people? The crowd is cheering, people are waving Indian and Australian flags, and suddenly the entire stadium echoes with one slogan. And that slogan is Modi. Well, that's exactly what happened in Melbourne. Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a massive welcome at Marvel Stadium, with nearly 35,000 people gathered to attend the community event. As he entered the stadium with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, loud cheers filled the venue, reflecting the growing enthusiasm of the Indian community living in Australia. Now, for many members of Indian diaspora, this was much more than a political event. It was a celebration of their identity, a moment of pride, and a reminder of how strongly the Indian community has established itself in Australia. In fact, during his speech, Mr. Modi praised the Indian community for strengthening relationship between India and Australia. He said that Indians have added new color to Australia's multicultural society and that the partnership between both the nations have now entered a completely new phase. In the meantime, Mr. Albanese, he also praised the Indian community, saying that its energy and contribution continue to strengthen the friendship between both the nations. But yes, outside the stadium, a completely different scene was unfolding. A group of anti-immigration and anti-India protesters, they gathered near the venue carrying banners and Australian flags. Though police maintained a strong security presence, as protesters and Modi supporters, they gathered in the same area. While the event inside that remained very peaceful, But the demonstration outside once again highlighted the growing debate around immigration and multiculturalism in Australia. Now, think what this really tells us. Australia today is home to one of the fastest growing Indian communities in the world. Indian professionals, students, business owners, doctors, engineers, and entrepreneurs are making significant contribution to Australian society. And yes, at the very same time, immigration continues to remain a political issue in many countries. That is why scenes like these often attract international attention. One side celebrates diversity, the other side questions immigration. But despite all these differences, one thing remained clear. India and Australia are moving closer than before. Well, from trade to technology to education to defense, the relationship continues to grow stronger and stronger. And the Indian community is playing a major role in that particular journey. Now, while many Indians are building successful careers in Australia, one Indian entrepreneur has now started an interesting debate online. He says plumbers and electricians in Australia are earning more than engineers. That's right. For decades, Indian parents have shared one dream: become an engineer, become a doctor, build a successful career. These have traditionally been seen as the safest path to success. But one Indian entrepreneur living in Australia, he has sparked a completely different conversation. And billions of people, they are talking about it. In a viral video, he claimed that skilled tradespeople such as plumber, electricians, and carpenter in Australia often earn more than many engineers. According to him, experienced electricians and plumbers, they can earn more than 120,000 Australian dollars a year, while construction manager, they can earn up to 200,000 Australian dollars annually. Now, to explain his point, he shared a simple example. He recalled calling a local carpenter to fix a lock. The work that took only about 15 minutes, and you know what was the bill? 150 Australian dollars. Now, that experience made him rethink the value of the vocational skills. He even joked that instead of encouraging children only to become engineers or doctors, perhaps parents should also consider skilled trade because they offer excellent earning opportunity. But his argument was not only about money here. He also spoke about respect. According to him, skilled workers in Australia receive tremendous respect from the society. Electricians, plumbers, carpenters, mechanics, they are viewed as highly skilled professionals whose work it is essential. And because demand remains high, their earning also reflect that value. His comments, it quickly went viral. Many people agreed. Some said vocational education deserves far more respect than it currently receives in countries like India. Others pointed out that Australia's labour shortages, it has increased demand for skilled trade, naturally pushing the salaries much higher. Now, think about the bigger picture here. The definition of success is changing now. In today's economy, a university degree is no longer the only path to financial stability. Well, practical training, technical training, and yes, of course, vocational education, they're all becoming equally valuable in many developed countries. Perhaps the biggest lesson is this: success is no longer described or decided only by the title of your degree. It is increasingly decided by the skills that you bring to the job market. Well, from Australia, let's now head to New Zealand, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit comes at a time when India's growing influence is creating both new opportunities and fresh political debate. For decades, New Zealand was known for its breathtaking mountains, peaceful cities, and small population. But today, another story is quietly changing the country's future, and that story is about growing Indian community. According to new data presented at the International Population Conference 2025, more than 1 in every 8 babies born in New Zealand last year had an Indian mother. That means Indian families are becoming one of the fastest growing communities in the country. Now, think about how remarkable that is. Back in 2008, only 2.8% of babies born in New Zealand had an Indian mother. Today, that number has reached 12.6%. In just 16 years, the figure has increased more than 4 times. And this change, it did not happen overnight at all. It reflects years of migration. Thousands of Indian students arrived first. Many later became professionals, some started business, others settled permanently. They built homes, started their families, and slowly became an important part of New Zealand's social and economic life. Researchers here say that this growth it is mainly because India has become one of New Zealand's largest source of migrants. Most Indian migrants are young adults who have settled in cities like Auckland, Hamilton, etc. Since many belong to working age population, they are now starting families, contributing to the country's changing demographics. And this is not only about population, it is also about contribution. Today, Indians are working across healthcare, information technology, education, retail, hospitality, construction, and business. They are opening companies, creating jobs, paying taxes, and contributing to New Zealand's economy. Experts say that these demographic changes will influence future planning for schools, hospitals, housing, and employment because the country's population is becoming increasingly diverse. And at the very same time, Mr. Modi's visit to New Zealand, it has attracted attention because of growing trade ties between the two nations. While leaders are discussing investment, tourism, and economic cooperation, the visit has also sparked political debate over immigration and visa policies. Some political leaders have welcomed stronger ties with India, while others they have expressed concern over migration, showing that immigration it continues to remain an important political issue even as India-New Zealand relation continues to grow. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition of Skyline. Tonight, we saw how a simple unpaid traffic fine it led to cancellation of H-1B visa, how new immigration proposal can change the future of H-1B visa and green cards, why American universities are losing Indians, how India reacted strongly after violence at a Hindu temple in Canada, why Prime Minister Modi received a rock star welcome in Australia despite protest, and why skilled trades are becoming one of Australia's highest paying career. Well, these stories may be different, but they are all connected by one common thread. The global Indian community is changing faster than ever. I'm Driti, this was Skyline, and I'll see you in the next episode.